The Rapids deal. My dad does. So direct.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. We are about to begin the Planning Commission meeting for North Augusta for today, which is Thursday, December 16th of 2021. Want to welcome you all. Thank you for coming. We don't have screens in the front, so if you all notice us turning, it is not to turn our backs on our community by any stretch of the imagination. It is so that we can see the screen behind us. And we will proceed going forth. All right. So we've been called to order. May I please have roll call, Commissioners?
Joanne Mackey.
Larry Watts.
Bob Clark.
Lynn Carter.
And I am your chair, Christine Crawford. Approval of the minutes. So if everyone could please review the minutes from December 18th. Both the study session and the regular meeting are reflected in the minutes. Are there any corrections? There being no corrections or amendments, please need a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Minutes are approved from our last meeting. All right. So, Mr. Paradise, we have the agenda that was sent to us and posted. Are there any changes or any statements or anything you'd like to share about tonight's meeting?
No, ma'am.
Let's get started with application PD 21-001. This is a request for approval of a planned development, general development plan for Blue Grass Place, submitted by South Carolina North Augusta Buena Vista LLC, and they will be represented by Cranston Engineering Group. And with this one, there'll be a public hearing and then the consideration of the application by PD 21-001 by the commission. Ms. Paradise, do you have anything to share about this application?
Yes, ma'am. This is the property that is generally known as the milling tract. It runs between East Buena Vista and East Martintown Road. It's this what you have before you is a request for a general development plan approval for plan unit development. It'll be a total of 51.85 acres. It includes retail, restaurant, and professional offices. There's a proposed 100-unit senior living facility, 52 detached single-family dwellings, 82 townhomes, 300 apartments, and 4.2 acres or 9% green space, including a park or a park amenity. There was a traffic impact analysis completed that's in your packet, and that recommends a northbound turn lane on East Martintown Road and also a southbound turn lane on East Buena Vista Avenue are recommended by that report. And that would be it for me, Ms. Chairman.
Are there any questions for Mr. Paradise from the commission? All right. So we're going to open it up to hear from the public hearing portion, which first, we're going to hear from the representative of the applicant, and I believe that will be Cranston Engineering. And then we'll have time for questions from the commission at that point. And after that, we will open it up for the public hearing portion. For all those who come up to the lectern, please be sure to give your name and your address. Once again, that is to please be sure to give your name and your address. If we could please keep the public hearing comments to 5 minutes or less, because we have lots of folks here. We want to make sure that as many people as possible are able to be heard. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Commission, for having us tonight. My name is James Dean, 452 Ellis Street, Cranston Engineering Group, and I'm representing the developer here. And Mr. Tommy has explained it very well. Just so you know, and I'm sure you already know, that this property is already zoned as a PD, and that this being just the plan that would be associated with that zoning. So that, we're not here for rezoning. We're here just for the plan itself. But we're excited to be a part of it. I know the development group is planning to do some really neat things here. This is a property that's been there for a long time, been vacant for a long time, and is a prime piece of real estate here in North Augusta. So I'm more than willing to entertain any questions that you may have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Dean?
Who is the development group, if you don't mind?
SC Martin. Robert Wright's here as the as the developer himself. So
Okay.
I apologize for not having that name.
Again, if you please give your name and your address.
Robert Wright, 24 Turkey Roost Court, Hendersonville, North Carolina, representing Realty Link, which is the development company out of Greenville, South Carolina. And the name of the LLC is actually not quite correct on our paper here, but it's South Carolina, North Augusta, East Martintown LLC. So it's really just a holding place name for the company for the development.
Now, have y'all developed any property in this area, or is?
Realty Link has done work in the past in the Augusta, North Augusta area. It has primarily been a commercial and retail industrial developer and has done more and more planned developments now and more residential in the last few years. But 25-year-old company has done work all over the southeast and beyond.
I'll ask. So what proportion do you see as being senior living, and how did you all decide to include that, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so we've done a market study for our residential, which includes the multifamily, the single family, and the townhomes, as well as senior living. But we see a need in the market here for that. Still not sure if it's going to be independent assisted living or some combination of the two. But we have development partners that focus on senior living and have done a great job. We've worked with it for many years.
I have one question about the traffic study. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but is one of the entrances actually going to be through the Monterey restaurant?
It'll actually run beside it. We are coordinating with the owner of Monterey to put that intersection there. It will serve him as well and better than what he's got, of course.
Are there any other questions for the applicants before we open up the public hearing?
I'm sorry, is there going to be a traffic light there coming out at Monterey?
You know, interestingly enough, the traffic study didn't call for one. I guess just the number of vehicles at this point on Martintown, as well as with the development, don't call for one. I was frankly a little surprised, but yeah.
Well, I mean, we have several on Martintown Road right now. We have no traffic light.
Well, and the traffic study, you know, will be subject to DOT review and approval as part of the access points.
Right.
They may come back and tell us that we need one, but right now, the study does not show
Right.
that.
It's really only, what, 2 blocks from the other traffic light that's already there?
Right at Atomic Road, yeah, it's not very far.
Yeah, so they probably won't. Okay.
And would it have, as soon as the development started, access to Buena Vista as well? So it's not like you'd all start on one side and work your way through, but
Yeah, we'd put the spine road in
it'd start
and
with
then work
Spine Road.
off of that because you definitely want to have that connection through.
If there are no other questions of the applicant, we'd like to open it up for a public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what I've generally done is I give the public an opportunity to share their thoughts or concerns, and if there are questions, then I'll ask that the applicants come back up to respond. But again, we ask everyone to keep their comments for less than 5 minutes so that all can be heard during this public hearing phase. So if there are any members of the community who would like to come forward to have comments or to ask questions, please do so now. All right. Seeing no one come forward, then the public hearing portion of this application is closed. All right. So, commissioners, we need to discuss whether or not we will, and make a motion accordingly to recommend the approval of this plan development to City Council.
I'd like to make a couple of comments. I looked at this proposal, and it looked like it had been thoroughly engineered and I don't usually see this kind of traffic study in a packet, but it looked like they'd done a pretty thorough job of traffic analysis, and I think this is a really good project for this part of town, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops. It's nice to look at some stuff that, in my opinion, is a little above the cut of some of the stuff that we've seen lately. And I'm looking forward to these guys coming to town and doing a good job.
I'd like to totally agree with that because the public doesn't know, but I think this is the traffic study. I think it's 80 pages long or something. And I think they have done a lot to look at this, and I think this property's just been sitting for years and years and years. And the Buena Vista entrance to me will be a real smooth transition there, coming in and having it to brighten up the situation there and get some activities there and make it where it's getting healthier and healthier there. So I'm all for it.
So for those of us who may not be able to see, as you could just hear, Commissioner Key has joined us. We're going to give him a second to get his phone on mute. All right, thank you. All right, and Commissioner Key, we're in the first application, PD 21-001, and we are at the discussion phase. We've closed public hearing. Are there any other comments from commissioners with regards to this application? Okay. Hearing, go ahead.
I just want to say I agree with the other commissioners. I think it's one of the best developments, best thought-out developments we've seen in quite a while. All for it.
So do I have a motion to?
I make a motion that we approve.
Wait a minute, you get
I will make a motion that we approve item PD 21-001 Bluegrass Place.
I second that.
So we have been moved and seconded by Commissioner Mackey, moved initially by Commissioner Clark. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the recommendation for this application for plan development, general development plan, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you. All right. So next on the agenda is application PDM 21-003, a request by Hamrick Associates LLC for approval of a minor modification of the Hamrick Farms Plan Development to remove age restrictions from Phase 3. Mr. Paradise, do you have anything you'd like to share with us about this application?
Yes, ma'am. This is the Hamrick Farms Plan Unit Development. It is located at out by the interstate at West Martintown Road in Holcomb. What's the road besides your Knobcombe? And I got up and left me. It's 174.36 acres. There is an existing general development plan that's already been approved. What they come before you tonight is requesting that general development plan be modified. And basically, what they're requesting for you is, when it was approved, it allowed approximately 384 apartments to be built based on that development plan. But about 1/3 of the apartments had to be designed and reserved for tenants 55 years of age and older. The new developer would like to take that age restriction off and omit that terminology. And that's the request before you tonight. Luke Boatwright is here representing the developers.
So, Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Paradise? Mr. Boatright, you come on up. Sorry about that.
Luke Boatright, 3740 Walton Way Extension, represents Stanley Martin Homes. Hamrick and Associates sent this application in on our behalf. We have since purchased the property from them. And I'm here to, on behalf of our future multifamily tenant partner, to request this minor modification to the PD. Be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Boatright?
So if I understand right, Mr. Boatright, y'all have purchased the property, or your client has purchased the property from Hamrick Farms?
Stanley Martin Homes, yes, sir, has purchased the property from Hamrick Farms LLC. And this portion will be sold off to a co-developer that specializes in multifamily, and they've requested that we have this change. This original PD was approved in 2006, as in the notes, and their opinion is the market has obviously changed a good bit in 15 years, and they would just like to be able to remove that age restriction off.
But all the rest of the,
That would be the only change that we have at this time.
y'all plan to develop the property at one time, or is it going to be done in phases?
There will be phases to it because it's a very large property. There's going to be a commercial component that's already on there, and the multifamily as well, and then we have single family that Stanley Martin will be doing. We will all kind of get a piece of the pie at the beginning to get access and co-develop, but portions of it will be phased in. The single family will be phased in as we get access to it. I think the apartment complex will all be built at one time. The commercial will be up to the commercial purchaser on what their progress will be.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I was gonna make one comment.
Yes,
because,
ma'am.
I do live next door to it.
Yes, ma'am.
And, on page 144 and on page 143, it shows, old information on the property.
Okay.
And it mentioned that the Mackeys were gonna sell that access to knob cones.
That was not a part of the property that we purchased, no, ma'am.
Okay.
That was something
And I
that.
was gonna tell you, that's been
Correct,
done.
correct. That was something the original request, original property owners had intended to do. They never did close on that property. So we did not purchase that access off of Knobcone.
Okay, well, it's showing on the tax books because my father-in-law passed away, and I asked my husband to check on it because we always don't know what he did,
Understand?
you know, so, it's showing that Hamrick Homes does own it.
I'll have to, I was thinking about something further down Knobcone they were talking about.
It was an access that was given to you
Gotcha.
or sold to you.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
And I'll sit. No other questions on this one. We're gonna let Mr. Boatright sit down. Boatright, sit down. Are there, at this time, we'll open it up to the public. Are there any members of the community who wish to speak on this application? All right. Commissioners, if we could please discuss consideration of this minor modification as any comments.
I had written in my notes from Mr. Paradise the age, the removal of the age restriction. What was the, in reading in the some of the old minutes, what was the reason for the age?
I honestly do not know. I don't have that information.
I can respond a little bit to that.
If
but
you,
I don't
if you
know-
could speak it to the.
I don't know the real answer, but I'll just tell you what I discussed today. I was told that sometimes when you're developing and you have it for the aged or aged or whatever they call us, that you have different loan requirements and you have different things. And when you don't do that, you change how you're doing it. So it's probably not necessary to them anymore.
So, and that's just removing that, does that not create some type of precedence or I'm asking.
The Planning Commission, when you read through the general development plan, the there's always, with developments, there's always the possibility that things need to be amended or changed. That's just the nature of the beast, and especially as time goes through. In the general development plan, it gives that authority to approve changes such as this to the Planning Commission. So that's why it's here. It stops with y'all. This isn't a recommendation to City Council. The modifications are approved or denied by the Planning Commission. So I say that because this is the appropriate venue for the changes to be heard at.
Any other conversation? Questions? Do I have a motion?
I'd make a motion that we approve the change to take away the senior clause of 55 or older. I don't really see the purpose of that.
Second.
So it has been moved and second. If there's no further conversation, all commissioners in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed?
Mr. Chairman, the second was kind of quick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Commissioner Watts was on the second. And,
Mr. Watts made the initial. Who made the second?
Carter made the second.
Carter. Thank you.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
looking at you and then, yeah. Thank you. Watts made the motion. Pardon me.
Had a frog in my throat.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. And now we're moving on to application PP 20-004, a request by the Hammonds at 5 Notch for major subdivision preliminary plat approval of 64 townhomes located on 10.5 acres along West 5 Notch Road. And Mr. Paradise, any comments about this application?
Yes, ma'am. This one originally came to y'all in April of 2020, and y'all requested that they do a traffic study and come back to you. They have completed that traffic study and have come back to you. The application is for a preliminary plat approval, and they're also asking or requesting 2 waivers. One is from table 14-2 to allow Yuma Circle to exceed the maximum of 650 feet in 2 sections. As you look at the diagram up there, the site plan up there, the one leg is 1,000 feet in length, and the other leg is about 700 feet in length, and 650 feet is the maximum length allowed without a interconnection there. And then the other is a waiver for the internal connectivity ratio of 1.2. Where the code requires a internal connectivity ratio of 1.4 is required to allow for the subdivision to comply with the subdivision requirements. If you're like me and have to look at what is a connectivity ratio. You look at it as a ratio of the links, which is the streets, divided by the number of dead ends and intersections. So that's what it's doing. And if you have any questions for me, other than that, that would be about it.
I'll start out with, so you said that it's coming in at 1.2 and the requirement is 1.4?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions for Mr. Paradise in regards to this application?
What would change that 1.2 to 1.4? Is it the length of the street, or is it the number of outlets they have in the property?
The number of outlets they have on the property. If there is a street that backs into it, if you look at the little short street all the way to, it would be my left up there, you see a narrow lot coming in. That's actually, I believe that's a DOT right-of-way. If that connection was made, they would meet the requirements. In talking to some of the engineers, there's some issue, and I'll let the applicant speak to that. There is some, with the slope, the grade, the drainage, and the lack of the existing roadway there, it's just kind of a stub right now. So, but I will let the applicant go more into detail of why that shouldn't be connected.
Any other questions for Mr. Paradise? Would the applicant please come forward and again, name and address?
Good evening. My name is Richard Harmon. I live at 377 Harvester Drive, North Augusta, 29860.
Mark Green, James G. Swift and Associates. We were the engineers.
Gentlemen, what would you like for us to know about this application?
We address that connectivity with what is actually called Presley Drive, and it's a DOT road, so they have jurisdiction over it. There are a couple of things there. One is the steep grade that we have at that intersection between Presley and Isle Drive. It's about a 12.8%. We found out through the DOT that their maximum is 5%. So we could not meet their standards by that criteria. They will allow 3%, but it's 5% is it. The issue would be if we did have to do that, there's a house that's at the corner of Howell Drive and Presley that would be affected by it. The folks that live in that house, there's a picture that we've attached, I think it might be your last picture, that shows a couple of vans pulled into their driveway, which is on the side of the house. There's a handicap ramp there because they have an individual that lives there that's handicapped. Even if we didn't have to change the grades, there would be a major issue with this family. They've been there over 30 years, but there would be a major issue, but that's the only way they can get in and out of their house and their driveway, and especially being able to use the van and being able to use the handicap ramp. But if we had to change the grade and raise it up, it wouldn't work. It'd be impossible for them to even access the house. So that was our hurdle that we had to look at and see, and it took a personal visit of mine out there to talk to these people and get their feelings about it, and obviously they don't like that. And so that's one of the reasons we're coming in and asking for the variance on that. There's another reason. I live at Whiteley Place, and I know these are houses are front-end loaded, their garages at the front, everybody backs out. And if I know if I didn't have a camera on my car, I'd have some problems backing out because of the traffic. We have 263 units at Whiteley Place. This is less than 70. But if you open that up and bring that flow of traffic in there, it's going to be a safety issue. And of course, that's what we're here about. We're all about health, welfare, and safety of the citizens. And we feel like because they're front-end loaded, that's what would happen. We'd have some real issues with the traffic flow coming through there. So it has some multiple problems with that issue connectivity.
And your reason for the block length? The reason for the block length, wanted to.
Well, for the block length, it would be, we don't see any benefit if we add some other, because typically those are put in for access and being able to turn around, reverse, and you're gonna have access either way. You can still get traffic flow through the development without having to turn around, like an extreme length.
Let me address that too. We have worked on this thing for a year, literally. We've come up with different scenarios. And when we tried to put a road literally through the center of that, separate it, it created a problem with those radiuses. It became 90-degree turns almost. And so it just wouldn't work. Plus, we were losing about four to five different units in there, but it physically just would not work by doing it that way. By the way, this is kind of like where I live at Watley Place. Most of them either have no hair or gray hair, and this is a community that's going to be really addressing those that are senior citizens, and we want to keep it as safe as we can.
Now, on your traffic analysis, what did you find out as far as getting out on Five Notch Road? Is that going to be a big deal, or what did they come up with?
As far as the analysis goes, there was no real issues at all. It was some traffic studies had already been accomplished by DOT anyway, so we just kind of piggybacked some of that and added to it. But we didn't come up with any issues whatsoever with that, none. And I think y'all have a copy of it.
Yeah, because it's going to be, it's not a big increase with this size development. It's very low.
It's so minimal. I think it was something like 31 cars or something like that. It wasn't very many.
Do you anticipate it being mostly senior citizens?
I'm sorry?
Do you anticipate it being mostly senior citizens?
It seems to be going that way. I just think about the market. I'm a senior citizen, and I moved out of Hammond Hills into Watley Place because I downsized, and that seems to be what the direction that people are going in North Augusta. I know the vast majority out of the 263 units at Watley Place, probably at least 60% of those are retirees.
Thank you.
I have a question. It says you've already gotten the road names.
Yes.
How'd you come up with those names?
I think 911 did that for us.
Okay, well, I'm just going to throw this out to you, and I'm not getting in your business, but you can contest those names if you
I
want to.
don't disagree.
Okay.
Your road names are a problem these days.
Well,
Getting them approved,
yeah, I mean, somehow you can do that because we had to do that. Because when we went before them, most of the names were names of horses. And they were trying to name everything because they're doing it in Aiken. So they wanted us to name streets over here after horses. And I was like, no. So we contested it and we got ours changed. So when I read it was Yuma, Comet, and Ruddy, I thought, that sounds like that group in Aiken. So you might want to talk to them.
Disagree.
Are there any other questions for the applicants? All right. Gentlemen, thank you for your all.
Thank you.
All right, and Vic, are there any comments or concerns from the public with regards to this application? Okay, there being none, commissioners, we need to discuss a request by the Hammonds of Five Notch Major Subdivision for preliminary plat approval of 64 townhomes. Comments, feedback, please?
My questions were answered.
No other comments?
I'll make a couple of comments. When this project first came to our attention, we discussed connectivity, I think, in detail. The fact that we felt like there should be a connection somewhere in that neighborhood out. And if you look in your notes, you will see that I voted against it based on that. It does appear that the applicant has gone back and done their research and have done a good job with coming up with reasons why they don't need to provide that connectivity.
Thank you for that. Is there a motion? Oh, we got to do.
But it's just a question.
Oh,
Are the
okay.
street names included in this timeline?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, I just didn't remember seeing it. But
I believe so.
if
We
approve it,
normally do.
We would be approving the street name. We don't have to do that again.
Correct.
That's all I want to do. I just didn't remember seeing the words. I may have missed it.
If not, you certainly could include that in a motion. We typically include that, though.
So I need motions for waivers 1 and 2. So waiver 1 is around block length. Waiver 2 is for connectivity ratios. So so let me correct this timing. So it would be a motion to approve the major subdivision preliminary plat subject to the following waivers. Waiver 1, which is that Humor Circle exceeds block length, and waiver 2, internal connectivity ratio of 1.2. Is that the correct way to phrase that?
Yes, ma'am. With the, also
And the
with the condition that Mr. Clark stated, the approval includes certification to use the road names Yuma, Ruddy, and Comet, with suffixes subject to final subdivision plat approval.
Somebody got that for me?
Yeah, we got it. So moved.
All right. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, so it was moved as presented and reported, read by Commissioner Key and seconded by Commissioner Mackey. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. All those opposed? Thank you. All right. So next on the agenda is application application CONPL 21-003. This is a request by Julian Boardman for a sketch plan review of a proposed mixed-use development on 34.85 acres along West Martintown Road at River Bluff Road. So this is a sketch plan review. This is not a recommendation that we're going to have to vote on or send. And so really the purpose of this is for the developer to get feedback from the commission. And in this case, since no one has participated in anything else largely, a large number of members of the community would like to also give feedback to the developer at this time. So the way that we're going to structure this is I'm going to ask Mr. Paradise for any comments around the application, any thoughts that he may have, then ask the applicant to come forward and speak, because that may answer some of the questions or concerns that the community may have. And then I would like to allot, let's do 20 minutes for the community to give comments, and we would ask that, again, you all be brief so that your neighbors have an opportunity to speak, and also that you maybe try and find things that have not been presented, right, as well. So that, again, we can maximize the information that is given both to us and the developer. And then at the conclusion of that 20 minutes, would like for the commission to have their discussion around the event, because that allows us then to ask the applicant and to also incorporate in our conversation that which we have heard from the community at large. Okay? All right. Mr. Paradise.
Yes, ma'am. And just to reemphasize what you had said, we have not received an application for development on this project yet. This is basically where the developer sees which way the wind's blowing and gets the input. This is a possible development plan. It would require rezoning to a planned unit development. It would require a general development plan to be developed similar to what you saw for Bluegrass, and traffic analysis to be done as you saw with Bluegrass. But the preliminary plan that we're looking at tonight would include 18 to 24 single lots, 8 to 10 duplex lots, 208 apartments, and 4 to 8 small retail shops of about 1,500 square feet. They would be limited to those small shops if when the general development came. If the general development plan moved forward on it, and it had a limitation on the size of the shops, they could not change those and go to a Walgreens or to some other commercial size store without coming back and getting a revision to the general development plan. It also shows 2 connections with River Bluff Drive, and there was some discussion about going out the other side. There's some environmental challenges there, and we did talk to the developer some about maybe townhomes instead of apartments, and or apartments is the way they want to go. And Mr. Boardman, Julian Boardman, is here to speak as a director as the developer.
And perhaps what I may do, and we've received and read an email from Mr. Fletcher around his concerns as well, so I don't know. So I think if we've all received that want to just acknowledge that email receipt by the commissioners as well.
And Madam Chairman, I would tell you, I believe is Mr. Beck, President of the HOA, is here as well, if he can speak during the public speaking session.
All right, so what I'll do is, let me revise my plans only slightly in that Mr. Beck, as president of HOA, will give you time if you promise to work with me on the brevity of it. Okay, and then we'll let everybody, and then I'll leave the 20 minutes for the rest of the neighborhood if there's something that residents would like to share that Mr. Beck did not cover. Okay. All right, so, I'm sorry, yeah. So if we could please have the applicant, Mr. Boardman, come forward to share.
Chairman Crawford, while he's coming forward, I'm going to recuse myself from the conversation, even though there's not a vote on this tonight. When it does come back to vote, I've got a personal conflict and would want to just recuse myself from this at this point, so I'll just step away.
All right, thank you. We appreciate that, Commissioner. All right, how are you, Mr. Boardman?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah.
Julian Boardman, I live in Brookhaven, Georgia. I also have a house here too, in North Augusta. We own about 55 townhomes here as well that we're renovating and making a lot better. Some old townhomes, and those.
So, Mr. Boardman, we cannot hear you. So if you could, I'm sorry, there's a water fountain if you need to step out and get some water, but if you could get a little closer to the mic for us, we appreciate it. And if you could give us your address.
Address is 1437 Brookhaven, Georgia. As well as I have a residence here.
So go ahead, but just to the mic because we still can't hear you.
So we have a development here. We love this piece of property. We're looking to do a development that has a mixture of lots, homes, apartments, as well as some commercial. We have no intention of anything bigger than 1,500 square feet. We don't want Walgreens. All right.
Here you go.
Thank you. I'll do that. Sure. Thank you. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this better, everyone?
Is this better, everybody?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. As far as the commercial, we have no intention of anybody but boutique type items. We're talking about maybe a yoga studio, maybe a wine shop, something small, something kind of quaint. This development is based on something quaint. We're not looking to do a mass, push the boundaries and everything else. We have 14 acres of green space, which is kind of unheard of in development. You have 35 acres. We're looking to take the trail system that North Augusta has done so well and tie into that. And that's what you can see the pink areas over there. We put the residential lots towards the back that kind of buries up to the other residential lots. We tried to keep the multifamily dead center away from people who may not want so much to see that, and they can't see that because you have a trail and a road dividing it. And then we put the commercial up front near Martintown Road. So we're trying to make this fit like a glove. We're trying to keep the numbers down as best we can to make it work, because the infrastructure is high cost, as we all know. We have to build roads, infrastructure, and everything else. We want to utilize the ponds there and make those an amenity. We want to use, keep the Pretty Run Creek crystal clear. We want to use that and embrace that. So that's kind of our whole game plan here. Okay?
Commissioners, do you have any questions, Mr. Boardman?
On your boutique commercial, will it come all the way up to Martintown Road, or would it be just kind of back up to Martintown Road and be accessed through the neighborhood?
It'll be accessed up front, basically. We'd like to, the idea there is, and the concept that seems to be embraced a lot, is we want to build a cafe that's adjacent to the Greenway. It's something that is done in other cities. It's where you can bike ride and come to the cafe. You can get hot chocolate, fire pits, and everything else. They have that in Atlanta, Charlotte, Colorado. And we can see that as just a great fit here. And that's the basis of it. I mean, we could give up a couple of shops. We don't care. We really want the cafe. We think as an amenity, that is something that North Augusta would love. People in the Rapids could just walk and come see this place, bike over, and just hang out. You could have small events there. That's kind of the epicenter of this whole development, is that cafe. Kind of something cool. Have electric bikes, maybe have some canoes that people could rent and take down the river. That's kind of what we see in the cafe. The other things are kind of nice, but if the cafe's alone, it's kind of alone. So we'd like to have a couple of boutiques that go with it. People would walk away from the cafe and go to a couple other shops.
Any other questions from the commissioners for the applicant at this time?
What was the idea of your price points on the home?
The homes, you know, obviously the market's been changing tremendously recently. We're looking for the lots on the homes probably be in the mid 2s to 3s. We're not looking for 5, 6, 7s. We're looking to get the lots where they're, and we want to keep that area wooded as much as possible. We do not want to clear cut.
2s and 3s in today's market, so what sizes will you shoot?
We're looking more smaller homes. We're looking more 1,800 square feet to maybe 2,800 square feet, 2,800 square feet, not large homes.
I had noticed on page 8 where you started talking about your architectural ideas in the garage, and that's been a big thing to me. Like, you were saying things that I thought looked good, like you don't want the garage to take up 40% of the front facade of a house.
No.
So those kinds of things, we're not seeing that everywhere that where development's being done. So I thought that was a good point on your side.
Yeah, we saw that in other places. In Atlanta, they have that to where it's just like a big nose. And all you see is a big 2-car garage. No, we don't want that.
Right.
We want more of the face of the house.
Right. So I thought that was one of your strong points, and I have more questions and more comments, but.
Well, if you have questions, you need to.
Well, I mean, I've looked at that entrance into the rapids. I don't see the need for that, but that's just me.
Right. And I actually have a question. So can you tell us about the apartments? Because that's a large number of apartments. And so is there community space? What the price point on the apartment?
The apartments will be Class A. They're going to be similar in competition with Ironwood. Now, Ironwood is 210 apartments on 7 acres. We're double that, so we're spread out a little more. We don't have as much density as they do. So the price point probably about $1,500 per unit. We're looking for what we have: medical students, professionals. You know, these people could, where they're there, and they may end up buying a home there or somewhere else nearby. We want this to stay Class A. Being amenitized with the Greenway and the Pretty Run Creek and the trails helps keep it being a Class A. It's like being beachfront. Beachfront never goes down, even though it may time pass it, but it still stays a Class A property because of the amenities around it. Oh, and I do want to clarify something. I was asked about going to townhomes. We are open to looking to a mixture of townhomes and apartments, not all apartments. It's just that we can't do one way or the other. We can't just wipe out, because the numbers just, we're building the infrastructure, it doesn't work financially.
As far as,
So we're open to townhomes as well.
as far as the business aspect of this property, do y'all sell the lots for the houses, or, and then keep the apartments, your company rents the
Yes,
apartments?
we would look to sell the lots, but we would want to control how they look. We'd want to make sure the houses have a uniformity to them and make them look nice.
Okay, so you would have like a group of builders you use, or you have your own?
Local builders, yes,
And be kind of like Hammond's Ferry, where they
exactly.
would be in a guild, or so to speak?
They have to have certain requirements and everything else.
Okay. But you will maintain the ownership of the shops and the apartments?
Yes, yes. And we want to make sure there's bicycle paths throughout. We want to make sure that whoever's in a house can bike over to the shops, or bike to the greenway, or bike down the trails through the whole thing. We want a very walkable, friendly area.
Yeah, I really like the concept that y'all are putting forth. I think it would be a real positive development.
This one's lucky. It's got a lot of good things that are handed to us on a canvas, and we're trying to work with that.
I have a question. I can't tell for sure from this drawing, but where your road, and new road, comes out to Martintown Road, is that an opening onto Martintown Road, or is that just the end of the street?
That's opening Martintown Road, and
Okay.
obviously, the traffic study is going to have a lot of impact on that. We're predicting that's probably going to have a right-hand turn in and a right-hand turn out, but not an intersection, because you already have an intersection at the River Bluff, and you have one down at the red light. You're probably not going to have 3 intersections in that short space.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Foreman from the commission?
In your experience with the coming in and out of Martintown Road or something with this development, do you, and you think it may require deceleration or acceleration lane because you're butting up, and you said right turn, so you're going to do some type of traffic study, impact study?
Yes, we will. Definitely.
But if it requires a deceleration lane or acceleration lane, you don't have any room.
That's why that turn in may be just be kind of a low density or a low usage turn lane. You can't have a heavy turn lane because you have a creek there and you have barriers, and you can't put a deceleration there.
Right. So you're going to make sure that that's cued.
We're going to see what the traffic study tells us.
Mr. Key, if I could, Mr. Chairman, the DOT will have the final say on how that is integrated into West Martintown Road there. They may close that curb cut off altogether. They may allow it to be used, but right now we don't know what that use would be. But they're going to have to make DOT happy with it.
Have you thought about how you're going to make DOT happy?
Well, what we thought about here was that the first entrance off River Bluff is the one that's the key entrance, and that one there gets into the parking area for the cafe and the multifamily. The second entrance at the very back is for the Special Falls Reserve, just for basically the homes. Really, somebody's not going to drive all the way through there and come back to the apartments. So that's, 20 homes back there just for that one there. So most of it's going to be right up front. And so the release will be either coming out onto Martintown Road or through that entrance that's close to Martintown Road. Okay.
Any other questions? The applicant at this time? All right, so we're going to thank you.
Thank you.
There are no last comments. We're going to have Mr. Beck come up and represent the HOA, and then at the conclusion of Mr. Beck, we'll open it up for the other residents again with 20 minutes. All right? Thank you, Mr. Beck.
All right, thank you. Ken Beck, 202 Post Oak Lane. Here representing the Rapids, which many residents are here tonight. Thanks for allowing me to share some of this information. I've shared some already with a letter to all of you, and I believe the developer also has that. So I'm just going to highlight some items here. Coincidentally, we also had our community meeting this last Tuesday, did a straw poll taken. Right now, we're about 100% of almost half of our household residents have some issues. I'll talk about some strong objections and questions about this proposal. So the first one, as we have already briefly talked about, is the traffic issue. That's our number one safety issue, concern. Some of you guys may know that over the past years, we've had many traffic and pedestrian safety issues throughout the neighborhood. We work with Chief Thomas, Public Safety, and they've assisted us periodically with that for the 300 households in our neighborhood. This obviously continues to be our number one safety issue, and despite that, with that, in the last couple of years, we ourselves worked with the city to get and fund sidewalks in our neighborhood just because of the large safety issue with the vehicles down there. That's helped mitigate, but not eliminate our pedestrian safety aspects. And again, this is also along River Bluff Drive, which is our access to and from. The proposed access roads up there just will add to that current safety issue that we already have. And I'll highlight some of these issues. We have our 300 households ingressing and ingressing daily with a proposed 250 or so residents. That'll be another, we have the DOT traffic study to look at, but 500 vehicles possibly getting access, along with the Greenway access parking lot, which is off that first access road. That right now it's off of Martintown, but that'll be traffic coming in there. And then additionally, the retail shops, as mentioned, smaller, but those traffics will also account for this. I live right behind that, and those two access roads are on either side of the most dangerous part of River Bluff, that curve. If you haven't driven in there, despite the 25 miles an hour, other traffic issues, every day there's a lot of close calls. Can't see around that curve. The traffic coming in and out, it'll just add to that. Despite adding stop signs, more speeding signs, that will still happen. I don't see personally, but I know that the study will show this too, relieving the stress of traffic. Most of us have driven past that Martintown Bridge. If it is the case that their main entrance on Martintown takes a right, now getting out of River Bluff, which takes a lot of time to take that left, will take even more significant time with another 300-400 cars getting in the line. So if they're coming out of that development onto here, it's just getting into another line to get back on Martintown. Along with the stoplight backups during the heavy traffic times on Bolin Road and Bunting Drive south of that. And again, the traffic impact analysis, but some questions I would just have is what's the estimates that those retail shops will have, the Greenway parking lot access, how many more people will be coming into that area, and then what bus impacts, possibly bus routes if we got to reroute traffic, and then the traffic controls. With already stoplights there, what are we going to do with these other two congested areas coming out with those added vehicles? Talking about the city comprehensive plan, those that moved into the Rapids 30 years ago, myself 10 years ago, or some that have moved in there within the last month or two. We chose this location because of the single-family home zoned area, not worrying about having a store, retail, other type of zoning next to where we are. Again, understand that this is this sketch is just not binding. It can be changed based on inputs and information. So any change from the current R14 zoning, based on all the low density that we have in that city comprehensive plan, I don't see how approving a PD development where we trusted and expected the city to provide us and our investments and our life environment that we chose to live with the surrounding areas, be it 30 years ago or a month ago. Just personally, I retired from the military, moved from DC. I was ready, searched for, and invested in this quiet, more private neighborhood without the other distractions of other locations. The rezoning requirement from R14 to PD is part of the GDP process, which I know, but I ask this sort of future development, will it meet a lower density housing based on the PD zoning requirement of other development standards? Well, let me quote, not be achieved by complying with the other development standards of another zoning district, like a 7, 10, 14, which already exist. And I know, and I recognize the comments from the applicant, the financial restrictions on the number of homes that could be there, but just an awareness per city zoning ordinance, with the 21 acres set aside for residential, that could authorize up to 504 living units, though I know the financial restrictions as mentioned. Environmental, as recent public hearings that you all heard have been brought up, the stormwater runoff of Pretty Run Creek, and additional pollutants from developments or developing parking lots have potential to increase the stream bed erosion and impact the drinking water, as it's a priority 1 basin by the city. Your report, the staff report sent out tonight, states that urban runoff is impacting the stream with existing structures and developments. If you walked along the greenway where that first access is, you can clearly see erosion already with the tree roots and all that still along that path. And I'm curious on what the environmental impact or other studies would say to impact that. I had in here clear cutting. I recognize that that's not the intention here, but again, that would probably have to be part of the environmental study based on all the acreage that still would have to be cut down, and what impact would that have. My last point leads to this on the neighborhood amenities. Despite our primary issue of the traffic safety, as I mentioned, this first access road within the development has their main entrance sign for the proposed development. So this may or will provide an unclear definition of neighborhood identity and what facilities are authorized for use. As these residents are entering the rapids, turning off of Martintown, and then entering their marked neighborhood off of River Bluff. If access roads exist in the future, developers must be required to compensate for improvements, continued maintenance, upkeep of the entrance amenities, which half of our budget is for all our landscaping and our beauty of keeping up the city land as we enter that subdivision as required. I would hope landscaping buffers would be put in to help in the delineation of the neighborhoods near the greenway, although I know there's a waiver authorized for sections of that greenway area, and I hope that a waiver would not be sought. Additionally, barriers behind the 14 duplexes and single-family homes along River Bluff near that second entrance in the back. That again is just some of my major concerns and major points. Obviously, the first one is safety with the traffic and the study on how that would actually help at all. The already hard part to get out of the rapids, left or right, on Martintown. And also the discord this proposal will be to the surrounding communities not meeting the low density intended single-family home only zoning by the comprehensive plan approved. Thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Carolyn Erickson, 5 Creek View Court. So, mom of 4 very small kids. I'm looking at this as a lot of families, and I would love to know what it's going to do to school district. How many kids can you pack in school? If you got kids that have been to school from kindergarten to third grade, and we get redistricted, and you get told, congratulations, your kid is now moving to a completely different elementary school because we just packed in a bunch of kids. That's my question.
My name's Rick Akery. I'm at 1903 Burns Road, and I'm speaking not as a resident of the Rapids, but as someone who lives off of Martintown Road. You've just, earlier this evening, approved an amendment to a development plan that increases substantially the number of residents accessing Martintown Road just a little bit further north. You're adding a significant number of residents in this proposed development. And you're doing it at a place where left and right turns are going to be a challenge. You've already, with what is planned for further out, increased the traffic count significantly. That may or may not show up in your traffic count of what is existing, but if you're looking towards 5 years down the road and you've already increased that traffic load, this is not signaled very well with Bolin, and I forgot the name of the other one off the top of my head. You're putting it right in between two traffic lights. I recognize that there's an environmental aspect of going across the creek and aligning with Bolin, but it certainly would make sense if you're going to approve something of this nature that you align the exit to this neighborhood with the traffic light so you've got a signalized turn.
Thank you. Yeah, please come forward, ma'am.
My name is Robert Whitmore. I reside at the Rapids at 104 Courtyards Place. I don't want to rehash everything that Ken said, but I completely concur with this objection. I strenuously object to this development. It absolutely conflicts with the entire reason I purchased a home. I chose to purchase a home in the Rapids about 3 years ago, exactly because this kind of stuff isn't there. And this traffic concern, I cross that crosswalk right there with the greenway, goes under River Bluff Road almost every day on my bicycle, and it's already extremely dangerous because of that curve. Introducing more traffic is just going to compound, and somebody's going to get hurt there. And again, as he pointed out, the access to Martintown Road, it's already very congested there. I just absolutely object to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Rosalind Maynor. I live at 229 Seaton Circle. My husband is Gordon Maynor, and he objects to this, but I also do. We moved here 3 months ago, and I absolutely love North Augusta. I can't think of anywhere else that I would want to retire and live for the rest of my life. But I don't want to live in Atlanta. I don't want to live in Colorado. I don't want something right in my back door that's either one of those places. I want to live in North Augusta, in a town that is a community that loves each other, that can get along with each other, and be something that you can run around the streets and not worried about the traffic that goes in and out with this what is being trying to be approved. It's I've been down those roads, and being new to it, I know when the sun shines, you can't see. You have to really get over. It's congested. It's hard to get out. And the older you get, it's horrible to get on that road. And to even think about it, nobody wants to do it. So I do object to the way it's done. And plus, I object to all the apartments and anything that's businesses into this area. It's unacceptable to me because I really love Augusta, North Augusta, so much. I mean, I've gone across that bridge. We moved here from Athens, Georgia. And I go across that river and I say, I am at home. I am in South Carolina now, and I am proud to be a resident of North Augusta. Thank you.
Let me, 1 second. I need to make sure that we hear something going off, and I just want to make sure the gentleman in the back, we're okay on sound? Is that your phone? Oh, okay. No problem. All right, I just wanted to make sure we weren't interfering with the, with the audio. Okay, I'm sorry, sir. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, please.
Thank y'all for letting us speak. My name's Mike Milheim. I live at 303 Osprey Point. I moved here from Houston, Texas, and I too am opposed to this development. We looked for 2 to 3 years for a house here. My daughter lives in Evans. She lives in River Island. And the same thing that I see going up here has already happened at River Island. They have a multi-family apartments right across from multi-million-dollar homes, driving the prices of the homes lower and just clear-cutting the land. And it's something I saw in Houston when we first lived there, and that's why we moved here, to be closer to the grandkids. So it's the main thing that made me fall in love with North Augusta was a small town feel that I got. I mean, when the first time I drove to the house, there was deer, there was foxes, and I'm just afraid that the impact on the ecology is going to be pretty devastating if they come in and just build this. So I appreciate y'all's time, and that is my input. Thank you.
Commissioners, my name is Michael Wiseman. I live at 11 Creekview Court, North Augusta, that is in the Rapids. Bought my home in 2013. And so I'm not sure if we've hit on enough of property values, but that's where I'm going to start. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm a little taller than this microphone, so I'll kind of bend over, okay?
You use the other.
That's okay.
We
I'm
can.
okay. I'll just bend over.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm not sure the developer has thought of property values. Now, mine is one of the smaller homes, I'll be honest with you, in the Rapids. But my neighbor that just stood up here and said that she bought on Seton Circle, I'm sure that the members of this commission know what those houses are bringing right now. And as soon as you sell one for 2s or 3s, that's just a hop, skip, and a jump across the creek from that house, you just cost her a lot of money. And so, 2s and 3s is okay, but we paid a lot of money for those houses. And, these houses, these people have paid a lot of money to North Augusta. It's been years, it's been 30 years. This building, part of this building was helped to pay for by residents of the Rapids. We know it's one of the premier neighborhoods in North Augusta. We know that, 15 years ago, it was basically the premier neighborhood, and still is. You've got to say top 10, right? Sure, maybe top 5. Why does he want to develop there? And why access the road? Because it's the Rapids. So please, if you're looking at this piece of property, please consider. I am not meaning it that anything is better than the other, but please understand that these people invested their money, their hard-earned money. They worked hard. They came to North Augusta for a reason. Most of them could have bought anywhere they wanted to. They chose the Rapids. They chose North Augusta because it's different. When we pull in our neighborhood, it's a specific field. It's a specific place. You can't really find that place in many areas. I'll be honest with you, in the CSRA, we looked at house after house after house, and we couldn't find it there. And it doesn't mean that we don't want to see, North Augusta grow. It doesn't mean to say that we don't want development next to us. But if you're talking about apartments, if you're talking about smaller homes even, I would have to say that, this board, you're charged with development of the area. And in doing so, does that mean you harm residents that already are here, that have helped put the seats that you're sitting in this area? So please just consider that. I'm not asking for special treatment other than the fact that just look at the facts, look at what you're considering, consider why he's wanting to develop and even have access to River Bluff Road. And I think I'm stating the obvious that hasn't been stated yet, but please consider it. I believe that's your duty.
So, let me just, so we can do a time check. We are at 9 minutes, so we are halfway through. And so all those who want to have comments, we have 9 more minutes, so please be mindful of that. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Joyce Blake at 813 River Bluff Road, and this is totally impromptu. 2 things. One is, we moved from Fayetteville, Georgia, and we moved here because we love the place, and because Fayetteville had this kind of development that went in, and Fayette County went from a wonderful place to a place we didn't want to live there anymore. So we moved here, and we love it. Second thing is, if somebody thinks it's not, if someone does not realize how dangerous it is to come out of River Bluff Road onto Martintown, they have never tried to turn either to the left or to the right anytime during the day. And they need to go there and just see how dangerous that is. We do not need 400 more cars plus trying to get out that exit. It just won't work. Thank you.
Thank you. So I appreciate y'all's enthusiasm, but the clapping may be taking a few precious seconds away. So I just want you all to keep that in mind. Okay, we have 2 more at least. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Clay Lee. I live at 218 Post Oak Lane here in North Augusta in the Rapids. I just found out about this yesterday, actually. I don't know where I've been, but there were 4 things that stuck out in my mind right off the bat. And when I read the proposal through an email, I saw that they're going to have apartments. I don't agree with that. They're going to have retail stores. I don't agree with that either. I don't think we need that. I don't like the access coming out of that proposed neighborhood onto River Bluff. Everybody's talked about the traffic, and I know it'd take a little more work probably, maybe a little more cost. I'm not sure if you consolidate down to 1 instead of 2, but maybe they could take it out to Socrates. I go on that street a lot too. There's hardly ever any cars on that street. That might be something they would consider doing that. And I don't agree with the duplexes. So that's the 4 items that just stuck out with me. But I do not like the access, and it's been talked about, the traffic coming on River Bluff. Socrates, if you got to have something there, if you have to have anything, if you want to put some residential homes, I guess I don't have a problem with that. But take it out the other way and not through our entrance. Thank you.
My name is Joe Birch. I live at 877 River Bluff Road. I lived in the Rapids for 2 years, about 3 years now. I just got 2 comments. I'd like to know, first of all, Bob, what was the reason why you recused yourself from the planning? I don't know if that can be record, or you just are free to recuse at any time. That's one question. The second comment is I got kids that go to Paul Knox and to the high school. And there's a lot of kids in there that are first-time drivers. And the traffic there is terrible, making a left-hand turn to go to the school systems. And I think about them every day when they go to school and come home, especially going there, that it's bad. And it'll only get worse. You know, coming home at 5:30 or so at night, making a left-hand turn in there. We're competing a lot of times with the church, just down the street. They like to use that center lane for to merge on, and I just can't imagine more traffic turning left into that road. So there's 2 things: safety for the kids going towards Paul Knox and the high school, and then just simple traffic congestion. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have time for about 2 more comments.
Good evening. First of all, I appreciate the work you do. I was involved in the city for many, many years, and I know it's a difficult job, and you do a good job with it, and I appreciate it very much. I'm Kent Sullivan. I live at 207 Post Oak Lane in the Rapids. I happen to be the treasurer of the Rapids and have been for about 12 years. Maybe more than that. I lose count. Lived in the Rapids for 30 years, and the last 11 years of the homeowners that we have in the Rapids, to give you an idea of the community we have there. This is a community, not just a neighborhood. Every single property owner has paid their assessments 11 years in a row, 100%. That's 282 units. We are family. We take care of each other. We watch out for each other. The development appears on the surface, and there's some good arguments for it, as being nice for our community because it ties into the greenway. It does this, it does that. But I can tell you, I came in here concerned, and now I'm more concerned than I was when I came in. Because as soon as I heard that the primary entrance to this area is going to be River Bluff, that blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. Because there is absolutely no way that River Bluff can handle any more traffic than it does now. We already have the left turn lane coming from the Hammond Hill School area, the downtown area. That's a left turn lane turning left into River Bluff. If you want to make a left turn going out towards the interstate, it's dangerous as hell. Excuse me for saying that, but it's dangerous. It is flat out dangerous. There's even a power line pole that blocks your view to the left. So people have to creep out just to see. There's no traffic light. And now I hear that they want to do a right turn in and right turn out, which will bring more traffic into the view or into the way of people trying to turn left and even right. I'm telling you, the people that live in there know what the situation is with the traffic. And this would just absolutely be a bad idea to tie into the Rapids for this extra traffic. The Rapids goes 2 miles back towards the river. We have so many people in there. And so just from that standpoint alone, this plan will not work, in my opinion. It's not up to me. I'm not on the Planning Commission. But this plan will not work from a safety standpoint for the residents of the Rapids, and it also does diminish the Rapids, especially when people are going to think that, oh, the main entrance to this new neighborhood is you go down to the Rapids, get on River Bluff, and then go down. And we're paying good money for our neighborhood and have for 30 years. We need to be protected, and I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a minute left, so thank you.
Matt Siegfried, 221 Post Oak Lane. So I first saw this a couple days ago, and I've been on shift work. I apologize. But what Ken said kind of condensed what I've been thinking about. It'll destroy our identity. Because the first thing I saw when I saw this, that first road, that's our waterfall and our guard shack. And that second connector, that's our clubhouse. I mean, that's our neighborhood's number 3 and number 1 expense, unless that's changed. I mean, this would absolutely destroy our neighborhood's identity. So I am strongly opposed to it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. And sir, because you started walking with 5 seconds left, I'm over. I'm
as fast as I can walk.
Okay.
I'm Robert Blake, 813 River Bluff Road, and I live in the Rapids.
I just want to make this quick. It seems like anytime you're trying to do a development, you want it to enrich and elevate the area, not just a subdivision, but the area. This doesn't do that. This harms the rapids. It harms the whole area with all the apartments. It makes the traffic situation more dangerous. It makes the schools too full. It changes that whole corridor from residential. Now you've got some, you can call them small, but it's that first block out of the wall. Just like my wife said, Fayette County fell this way, it fell the exact same way. You approve this, then somebody else said, well, you approve that, let's do this. Pretty soon, it's all the residential's gone. So just think about, when you consider this, that it really is going to not enrich the area, not just the rapids. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all. All right. So thank you all for sharing. And we heard you. So commissioners, if there are thoughts or concerns that you would like to share with Mr. Boardman, the developer, please do so at this time. In addition to what has been shared. So we've heard, I think, quite a bit about the traffic. I think concerns about both safety and congestion. I think we have also had a question about school districts, heard that concern. I think I've also heard about ecological impact from one resident, as well as property values and I think a general concern about the number of units of apartments and the volume and what that will do to both the community as well as traffic. And I think an access road and landscaping. So anything in addition to that that the commissioners would like to share with the developer, please do so at this time.
Well, I pretty much have a lot to say. I've spent 4 days in that neighborhood riding around. I've sold houses in that neighborhood as a realtor. So I've tried to figure out a way for this to work. And when I say some of what I say, the mayor's probably going to call me tomorrow and ask me if I've lost my mind. But I feel like, and I'm going to say this to Mr. Boardman, I feel like that the city needs to step up and help with some of this, because some of the problems that are there are already there. They're not caused by this. They're already there. And just to give a little light note on that, I have been traveling the neighborhood, and today I was leaving the neighborhood and I needed to go to I-20. I had to go and turn and go down to Maybaum, turn in, turn around, go back through the light, and go to I-20. So I don't know a whole lot, but I try to figure out things, and then I get people to help me. I've talked to Tommy Paradise several times. So I came up with an idea of, okay, we'll just move the road over. Well, I didn't realize that Pretty Run went under that road, and that you have to make that, you're going to have to bridge it and do all of that. So that ain't going to work. So then I went down to Saukesty, and Saukesty isn't going to work because it's a wetland down through there. It's a lake down, it's ponds down there, so you can't get out on Saukesty. I looked at that now. I might be wrong, maybe you can. So I've looked at this about 10 ways, and I am going to say something that you don't want to hear. Our community is growing. They do want apartments. There's going to be some apartments. And apartments, to me, are not total hell. They can be nice. They can be where it works. So we can't just tell the whole world that owns land in North Augusta, you can't have apartments here. That's not going to work. But we got to figure out how to make it work. I don't think that it needs to have the roads in and out into the rapids. I just don't see that being the way to go. And I don't have a way to get it around it. So then I went and looked at, Mr. Boardman's going to go, you're spending money like millions and you don't realize it. But I thought, okay, maybe they could get to the red light of Bowen somehow. I was trying to figure out how can they get up to the red light at Bowen from their property. Then I just sat here and looked at this and I asked Larry, why can't the city give them that parking lot to work with on a street? Maybe that can make up a street. Then you can have parking later down in there. I mean, I have tried to think of 10 ways to stop that entrance into the rapids. I can't figure it out, but I'm sure that Mr. Boardman is a lot smarter than I am and he can figure it out. I'm not opposed to that coffee shop. I think that's kind of a neat idea. So I'm not opposed to everything he's doing. I'm just opposed to you're living in the rapids, it was the entrance to your neighborhood, and somebody shows up and says, you know what, I think I'm gonna cut 2 streets in there. And I don't worry about your pool and all that, because we have a neighborhood that has a pool in it that is not our neighborhood's pool, but we don't have membership to the pool. It's a membership to another pool area, another place. So I'm for them having the development. I think if you look closely after you get past the entrances and all that, for him to take the time to figure out how to get those garages off the front, y'all don't realize how much getting those garages off the front make a difference. So just to have it where they're not just one after the other, a garage, that makes a big difference if you're in a neighborhood. So I think he's really trying. I think he has some very innovative ideas. But I'm just opposed to the River Bluff turning into their entrance. Maybe the city can figure out another way. I even thought about, Tommy will have a fit of this, like a circle. And you came out and you just circled. And then you went into bowling, you went out of bowling, you went into Augusta, you went into this. I don't have the answer, but I don't think this is my answer.
I have to go into some history sometimes to kind of make a point. I've lived in North Augusta since I've been 3. Since 3. And my mom's house, which she's still living, is on the top of the hill on Knox Avenue by the prompt care and the new seniors apartments. And I used to work at S&S cafeteria when I was 15. I had to get a permission slip to work there for summer. And I used to go ride my bike from the prompt care all the way down to S&S. And I would work and then come back home and then go for the afternoon shift. And I would get off about 9:30, so I could ride my bicycle all the way back up Knox Avenue, and I would have to get off the road one time, twice. And so North Augusta is not what it was. The apartments that are coming in, I'm a senior citizen as well. Got a lot of gray hair and holding them a natural. The young folks that are coming to North Augusta and having to have a transition for apartments, they're going to be the ones that's going to give us community, and they're creating a lot more rooftops. And we as senior citizens, our quality of life would not be where it is if it were not for the younger folks. And I got a house on a big lot tucked away, and if not for the young folks coming into North Augusta, we got this new high school, and if our SAT scores continue to climb, people are going to be still trying to squeeze in here. So the Planning Commission is here. I'm a mortgage banker. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a civil engineer. Tommy, as Mr. Paradise, as our staff person, he's the expert. And so we're trying to use good logic. I'm not going to be able to figure it out. None of us on the Planning Commission, we are volunteers. The bottom line is things can be figured out. And we need to engineer, we need to plan for the city. And a lot of the people that own land, they have a right to use it in the highest and best use. And we as citizens, going to have to depend on us doing the right thing to make sure that your property values are not hurt. I live in Savannah Barony, and going to my neighborhood, they've got 2 firecracker stands. One was a nice firecracker stand, and then the other one was a not so nice firecracker stand. The gentleman came in and made it a nice firecracker stand, and they don't do a lot of business on the off season. But the bottom line is, and we have a convent right at the mouth of the neighborhood, and we have graves at the mouth of my neighborhood where the sisters come in when they move from upstate down here, and they're burying people right in my neighborhood, right at the mouth of the neighborhood. Property values hadn't missed a lick. It's a large lot neighborhood, just like a lot of the people in the Rapids, and the country as a whole we are becoming more urban, and the lot sizes are becoming small. So if you got a third of an acre being pitted against a half an acre or full acre, your house is going to still maintain its value. I've been on the planning commission for quite some time, and this thing about it's going to be right next to me and hurt my property value, it has not borne that to be a fact. So one more little story, then I hush. My mom is if I'm soon to be 63, she's a little bit older than me. So you don't talk about a lady's age, shoe size, and weight. So you can kind of imagine her age. And she was living right in the middle of North Augusta, and she was saying, they're bringing this over. You know, they got this prompt care, and they're coming right next to us with the seniors, and they got this grocery store, and the school that I went to was Central, but now it's Summerfield. Now the Catholic Church owns it, and she was just putting up, and they're going to be, and I said, Mom, you're going to love it. So at her age, she can drive less than a mile to her church. She can go to Publix, Kroger's, or Aldi's, and prompt care, and her dentist a rock's throw away from her house. So we're getting dense, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. And if you're my age and put 10 more years on me, or 20 more years, I don't think I would necessarily like living 20 miles in Edgefield where I had to drive 20 or 30 miles to get to a Walmart or a grocery store. So it's going to be okay, and we're going to do what we need to do as far as trying to make sure that everything gets done properly. The developer can't just run roughshod and say, I'm going to just put this here. You got to deal with DOT. If it gets to the point where it's too expensive and he can't price it out per lot and per the apartments, then the highest and best use would not be this development. So he's got some things he's going to have to do. But we on the planning commission, we've got to be open minded, and we can't turn it down before he absolutely proposed to us what he's trying to do. So I'm vested in this community. Everybody else is vested in this community, and we're trying to do the right thing. But we can't turn it down before he proposes it. And if he's getting the necessary feedback and feeling the sentiments, then I think we can work it out. So I see the glass as being half full and not half empty. And surely we're not going to do anything to hurt you guys at all. We're going to try to do the best job we can.
Yes, my comments would be, as a member of the Planning Commission, we take a lot of in-service classes. We do, we read stuff and try to get a grasp on what good development is. And if you were to look at this site and take away the entrances to River Bluff Road and all the other things, this would be a textbook example of good development. They've got a lot of mixed uses in here. They take care of a lot of needs for different age groups and economic situations. And, I understand where the residents of the Rapids are coming from about the entranceways into their neighborhood. And I think that if there's any way that that problem could be solved with the ingress and egress, either by putting a bridge in and going out at Bowling Road or whatever, I think this would be the perfect development.
just say, I live in the Rapids, as most all of y'all know, so I came here tonight to listen, not to talk.
There's been a lot of comments across the audience. We appreciate y'all being here. My fellow commissioners, you also bring up very valid points across as well. I too agree that it is a well-designed development. I do not like the access points as they are. I think we should try to do something that works in Bowling Road. I think that's probably the best use we could do. Concern about traffic. I don't live in the Rapids. I go to the Rapids a good bit. I know the access points. I know what you're talking about. Those have been there since y'all have been there. I mean, when you think about it, that's not changed. Now, can we do something about that in the long run? That needs to be a focus as well. Because you shouldn't have to go right out of the neighborhood to go up and turn around and make a left turn and hook and come back and go left. That should not be the issue. So I think we as a city, we as developers, we as planners, we as engineers, we need to look into those things as well to solve some of these problems, to make things happen. So that's kind of my comment. And it's interesting that there's a lot of people that showed up tonight. We've sat here many nights on this third Thursday of the month and listened to comments and public hearings and things like this. Nobody ever says they want it. Those folks don't show up. It's really all the ones that don't. And that's just, you know, and I understand that as well. It's not being critical. I'm just saying that, you know, input is great, but at the same time, we have to look at the overall picture and try to make it work for everybody involved. That's my point.
Are there any other?
Well, I do want to say that I feel better that I'm not the only one up here thinking a lot of the same thoughts. And I do, again, think that the city needs to play a part in this and try to figure out, because tonight, I mean, I know you've been sitting here, but when I got our package, it was 149 pages. Just, wasn't it?
300.
Well, whatever. One piece was 149. That traffic study thing was 149 pages that we had earlier tonight. And I thought, we've got 3 projects on here that are on Martintown Road. And Martintown Road is growing. And I do live on Martintown Road, and I can tell you, it's growing. And I know it's got a lot of traffic, and I have to put up with it. And I have to sit there and wait to get out of my driveway. And I understand all of this. But we can't fight that people who have owned property, have invested their time in their property, have the right to sell their property and develop their property. But we do have to make it safe for everybody, and we don't want to wipe somebody out to make somebody else happy. So I just really do feel like that the city needs to work on this time too. And I go back to that on that traffic, because Mr. Boardman hadn't done anything yet, and we are already in trouble with the traffic. So we got to get that traffic worked out. Mr. Paradise keeps looking at me.
And so my only comments, I think, Mr. Boardman, you've heard everyone's feedback. I think there may be some concerns about the ratios of things. And so if it is smaller houses, the ratios to then townhomes, I think you've received feedback from Mr. Paradise about what he thinks maybe would be a better fit. And so we rely on those who are staff, Mr. Paradise, engineering, DOT, to do good jobs. And they've done good jobs because we're all in this community that we love and are so passionate about on one way or the other. So I encourage you to, as you work, put pen to paper, see if, given the feedback that you've had, I think you have an idea of what the objections are and will be, and what hurdles you may need to overcome to see if it still works for you as a developer. And so the North Augusta that we love is going to change as we all change, but we all want it to be changed that we love and endorse. So thank you all for coming. We're by no means adjourned, but have a feeling that a lot of y'all gonna probably leave as soon as the moment I stop talking. So again, thank you all for coming. And those who wish to stay, we have the election of officers, the adoption of the calendar, and the performance report.
I don't have the door. I don't have the key.
It's normally open.
Huh?
I said it's normally open.
We're not over, we got some more, yeah.
No, it's water.
Oh, water. Okay, you wanna go to the water fountain and come, okay.
It's probably open.
All right, so we're, for those in Facebook land, we're taking a brief break for Commissioner Mackey to come back and then join us, get some water, and then we'll start back. Thank you. You please, we're continuing with our meeting. Okay, we're continuing with our meeting, so thank you. All right. So, next on our agenda is the election of officers, but before that, I want to stop and recognize Mr. Commissioner Bob Clark and Commissioner Larry Watts for their service. We have enjoyed you. We are grateful for you. Their terms are ending, and so again, for the record, their terms are ending. We have been grateful for you, your participation. We will miss you and thank you. And for that, we will clap. And come on back anytime you want.
I'd like to make just a comment or two, if it's okay.
Yes, please do.
You know, I came on this board, years and years ago. Tom Green actually appointed me, so it was a long time ago. And I came on as a fairly young guy, and for years I didn't really feel like that I knew what I was doing. You know, I was just here at the meetings, and it was like, you know, how's he going to vote? How's he going to vote? But as time went by, I realized that how important this board is to the city. And it's important because we are the first line, you guys are the first line of defense against bad development. And too often we approve stuff that doesn't stand up to the test of time. And I feel like we're doing that right now out off Martintown Road in what is actually the fault line. It's a very unusual piece of property outside of the city, and it's on the fault line, and I'm thinking about Gregory Land. Okay. But I don't think that these developments are going to stand the test because they're put in too dense. They're put in properties that the properties won't perk. And when I say won't perk, that means you can't put a septic tank. The only way you can develop these properties is if the city brings them in. And too often in the past, we have been willing to bring in large tracts of land, 80 acres, 350 acres, and these are all clear cut. Every tree on the property is cut down. You know, it's the only part of the city now that has a decent water springs, and they're gonna be just like all the others that are in the city that are poor quality. So I think that those are the things that we need to focus on. And it's too bad that we get a crowd like this tonight, and they're complaining about property values and not wanting a development that really is a good development. Really is a good development. And I understand where they're coming from, but it's a good development. But I see a lot of developments go in, we give our approval to, but they're not good developments. I think that all of you guys need to ask yourself, as time goes by, is this project going to maintain its value 25 years from now, 35 years from now, 40 years from now? And there's areas in the city that right now are better than the day they were built, like Arlington Street, Arlington Avenue is one of them. Beautiful little houses. Everybody loves those houses, and they'll always be like that. There's going to be areas that we're approving right now. And what we're doing when we do that is urban sprawl. It's nothing more than urban sprawl. You say, well, we need the tax base. It's a negative, that's a misconception we have. And most studies show that when you spread, the farther you spread a city out, the more it costs the city to operate. So these developments, when infill, like we've looked at tonight, these are great developments. Because with all the infrastructure there, you know, that's what you want in the city. I'll get off my soapbox. What I would like to say is it's been a real honor for me to serve on this board. And it's been a real honor to serve with you guys. And there's been some really, really good people on this board. And I feel good about the way we're doing things. I feel good about the political situation in the city right now. And I think
We're going to miss you. Thank you. Ms. Carter, did you want
that,
to say since he had a...
I was going to say goodbye until the end, but I guess I have to now. No, yeah. End of January is our last meeting, but I will be in the Caribbean in January. So this is my last meeting. But this is my 19th year on the Planning Commission. I came in 1987 from Tom Green. Had a 10-year gap when I got transferred to Houston. Other than that, I've been here. I have been privileged to be here through Hammond's Ferry, Exit 5, the ballpark area, and a number of other developments that I think have really contributed to this city. And I'm going to miss that kind of thing and not being able to see that from the beginning. But I think that's enough time. But I have worked with some extremely good people, all of you and the previous people, and it's been a joy and a delight. But I'm looking forward to the rest. Thank you.
And again, we appreciate your wisdom, your insights, your counsel, and your forthrightness. And we have been lucky to serve with you all. So thank you. All right. So with that being said, next up is the election of officers for the coming year. So they did.
Do we have a quorum?
Well, we still have active commissioners. They have not.
That's right. We haven't retired yet.
They have not retired, but we typically elect our commissioners at this point for the coming year. So, is there interest in running for either vice chair or chair? If so, please.
Is it appropriate at this time to make a motion for the election?
But it needs to know who's interested in running.
Well, we don't need to do that. We just need to go ahead and make a nomination.
Like them?
Dr. Christina Crawford as chairperson. Do you accept?
We're going to go one at a time?
Yeah.
I second that motion.
It's been properly
I'll
motioned.
accept.
Christine, you do a great job. We're really.
Yeah, we need to vote.
All in
Oh,
favor?
so it's been moved and seconded that I remain chair. All those in favor have, as hands have said aye. All right. Thank you. Did you get that time? Okay. All right. So then, need a motion nominations for vice chair?
I'll do it.
I would nominate Tim Key to be vice chair.
Second.
All right. So it's been moved
Said
and
they kind of
seconded.
fast there over there.
Second. Second. Just get here on time.
All,
Oh, that's a hard thing.
all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so we have elected our officers for the year. Thank you. And thank you, former vice chair, soon to be. Thank you for your service and dedication in that role as well. No, so you did do, though, what's coming up on B, which is the adoption of the 2022 calendar. Yes. So we all discussed it, but we have to formally change our meetings, so have a motion and a second and vote to move our meetings to the third Wednesday of the month. So assuming everyone has checked, double checked and triple checked your calendars and that adjustment is still fine with everyone. All right, so I need
Madam Chairman, is there going to be any changes in the time? And I just asked this because BZA changed their times when they changed today. Are you going to stay with the 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock times, or is there going to be any changes there? They went to 6 o'clock because City Council is at 6 o'clock now as well. But then again, if you go to 6 o'clock, that backs you up to a work session at 5 o'clock. And that's kind of difficult. I'm not saying I'm recommending it, it's just a question I needed to ask.
Yeah, 5 doesn't work for me either.
Doesn't work for me.
For us working stiffs, it doesn't work at 5.
Okay.
We the mission person need.
I got you.
So I think we'll keep the same time, and I think, and hopefully the way that the study sessions are supposed to work is that also that if there's some feedback and some questions from the community, that time is available as well to get that on the front end so that we're not here till 9 o'clock. So hopefully, if we need to, we can maybe think about how to use that more judiciously. So I need a motion and a second to change the meetings to the third Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. for regular meetings and study sessions.
So moved.
We have a second? All right, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? That passes unanimously. All right, Mr. Paradise, for your November performance report.
Oh, yes. The development code rewrite is still in session. We are, the last few weeks, we have been digging deep in the use table and conditional uses, but that is moving forward. Hopefully, after our next meeting, next Tuesday, we'll have a meeting with the consultants, and hopefully we can get the use table behind us. And the comprehensive update plan is a preliminary scheduled to go to council the first meeting in February, which would be February 7th. That'd be it.
The public health, the epidemiologist in me, may at some point decide to go virtual if need be, if I think that for the community, safety-wise, that is best. So just want to, but we have to do that again with the same notice that we've done with everything else. But just want you all to know that that option is on the table, so that we can decide to go virtual if needed, without the entire city being in a state of emergency. So just want to reiterate that. All right. There being nothing else?
Do we have new appointments yet for these 2 replacements?
No.
No.
So
Bet he does.
I know no more than you do.
And just as a reference note, I will not be here in the January meeting.
Okay.
I'll be traveling business.
Okay.
Also, I'm gonna really say this out, I did complete my education, it's about County Associate Engineering, but I am on first name basis to go to that place. Every time I went on, it was off for 3 days, and then last time I talked with Tommy, he took my phone and tried to get it, and it wouldn't work, and then I called Rita, and she said, oh my God, we didn't want to put you back in there. They had an employee take my phone and my identity and phone me and try to figure it all out why it wasn't coming. Anyway, but I wanted to tell you that Art Jones is the speaker in one of the ones on there. And the best one is the second one. That was good. The first one was 4 years, but I didn't see that done yet, but that's one of the second one was good.
I believe you took economic development for municipalities.
Yeah, and that one was really good. It talks about downtown and how things can be developed. That was really good.
So thank you. So those of us who are continuing to serve on the planning commission, that was a lovely nudge and reminder to myself as well to try and get online Friday, because, you know, help us all if you're trying to get help after that. So, okay. All right. So continuing ed needs to be done as well in the next couple of weeks. All right. Thank you. There being nothing else. All right. We adjourn. And happy holidays.